LaMelo Ball has been in the spotlight since a very young age, with two brothers before him who were very productive in the high school basketball scene, playing for what was at the time the best high school basketball team in the nation, and under a dad who was, at the very minimum, a unique character. LaMelo managed to stand out as a very impressive floor general even as a very young player in those teams. Over time, it has become apparent that LaMelo is the best prospect out of the three brothers, and his potential for the future is incredibly high. What makes LaMelo such a great prospect? Does he have a chance to be the best point guard in the NBA in the future? Let's find out. Like I mentioned, LaMelo has had a very effective career as a youth player. However, it was by no means a conventional route to the pros. For example, he started out at Chino Hills with his brothers, like I said, but after a while, he and his brothers played for some professional teams to get some more freedom as players. It was an interesting endeavor for them for sure, and I think getting some experience against good professional level guys might actually have been beneficial for LaMelo in the long run. He went from the Lithuanian Basketball League to the JBA, which was founded by his father LeVar. Then he made it back to the high school ranks playing for Spire Academy as a senior. He did well for them, but there was a lot of controversy due to his professional experience and playing in high school. In the end, he moved on from that school and went to the Australian League, which was his last stop before the NBA. He had a lot of success at his stops before the NBA, but a lot of people still questioned if he had the ability to translate his skills to the top tier of professional basketball. The Hornets didn't seem to doubt that, as they took him third overall. Now let's get into the traits that made him potentially one of the best point guards of the future. So when it comes to shooting, though it is very interesting that all the Ball brothers have a very unique shooting form, LaMelo being no exception, he is still a very, very good shooter. And he's never really been a bad shooter since coming into the NBA. He's been efficient, he makes them at a good rate. For example, he's gotten better as a shooter every year. His percentage has been in the high 30s the whole time, being 38.9% in 21-22 and 37.9% in 22-23. So like I said, good percentages. And the amount of threes he's taking year over year has improved as well. So he's shooting them at a higher volume and either improving his percentage or not taking much of a dip in percentage every season. He isn't just taking spot up jumpers either. When you watch him play, you can tell he can definitely come off the dribble, whether it be a size up or simply just a pull up jumper, and makes both threes and mid-range shots at a pretty good percentage. He has good range as well. Shooting is not a weakness for LaMelo and is definitely a great tool that he has in his game. LaMelo has a really good finishing game as well. This is what makes him a great offensive threat as a whole, as he's a solid player inside and out. He is incredibly crafty getting to the rim, as you can see in some of these highlights. He has the ability to switch hands midair, get creative in the way that he can finish, and uses his length well to get to the rim and incorporate his effective handle. Really a pretty dangerous guard when it comes to his interior finishing. I will say his biggest weakness on this front is probably the fact that he's not an incredible athlete. He's by no means lacking in this area, but he's just not incredibly explosive either when it comes to this. His explosiveness and speed are just not at the top end of guards in the NBA. This is a little bit nitpicky, sure, because he is of course one of the best point guards in the NBA, so you have to be very particular when you're finding flaws in his game. But this is one of them. His athleticism is unspectacular, and so that kind of creates a little bit of a drawback for him when it comes to his ability to get to the rim, but that doesn't mean he's not good at it. Like I said, great crafty finishers find a way to get inside and adjust to different defenders and find a way to put the ball in the basket. He is, I would say, above average at this dynamic of his game. On his passing, most people who know LaMelo's game know that this is basically his calling card. He's a great passer, a great playmaker overall. He really has a lot of that Showtime type energy on the court, and his court vision is just really good as well. He sees a lot of passes that other people simply don't see, and he passes players open and puts the ball in a spot that it needs to be, as opposed to where the player is, and that's a good sign of a really, really good point guard. Like his three-point shooting, his assist numbers have gotten better year over year. Every year he's gotten better reading the floor, he's gotten better at developing a rapport with the players on his team, etc. It's very unfortunate that Miles Bridges was not able to play with him the most recent season, because he and Miles Bridges have had really great chemistry on the court. The lobs from LaMelo to Bridges are always electric, and hopefully Bridges gets some of that stuff straightened out so we can see them again on the court together. But even without him, LaMelo has gotten better and better at just understanding his teammates, knowing where to put the ball, and just making the guys around him better. This is going to be a trait that I think has a chance to put him at the top echelon of young point guards in the league. There's a couple of others in the East that are around LaMelo's age that may be on his level or slightly better as a floor general, but LaMelo's total package as a player, when including how good he is at passing, makes him really tough to contend with as one of the best young point guards in the East and the whole NBA. Now on defense, unfortunately coming into the NBA, one of the major concerns for LaMelo was his defense. He just didn't project as a good defender, and after making it into the league, he really hasn't done all that much to change people's opinion. Yes, he does have the ability to get some steals here and there. He's pretty decent in the passing lanes, so there's one benefit as far as defense goes, but he just lacks the strength to stick with some more powerful guards. And along with that, in general, he just isn't a very locked-in defender. He's a little bit out of focus and had some bad tendencies that allow players to get a shot easier than they probably should. And for that reason, he's still not a great defender. Teams still will want to pick on him in the defensive end, and when you look at his statistics, you can see that his defense has actually gotten worse based on defensive rating year over year. Now, it's possible that because he's taking on more offensive responsibilities every season, he doesn't have as much energy on the defensive end. That is possible, but that doesn't mean it's still not a negative that his defensive rating is getting worse every year when he already wasn't a great defender to begin with. Like I said, this is still a problem for LaMelo and something he needs to work on if he wants to become truly one of the best point guards in the whole NBA. So in conclusion, what do I think LaMelo's path looks like when it comes to being the best point guard in the NBA? Well, he certainly has the opportunity to do it. He's got some stiff competition for now though. I would have said earlier in the year that the number one young prospect at the point guard position is Ja or Luka, but looking at some recent events, Ja has definitely been knocked down a peg and is no higher than someone like LaMelo would be. The talent for Ja is still there, but the questions of his focus certainly come into play now. LaMelo, even with all the exterior things that went on when he was younger, seems to be very locked in, and those things aren't as much of a distraction as they used to be. That's one thing that I will give LaMelo credit for. He does have a good dedication to the game of basketball. The two players that I want to mention that are definitely in contention with him, at least in the East, are Darius Garland and Tyrese Halliburton. Two young floor generals who, in my opinion, are right there with LaMelo when it comes to being in the race to be the next true number one point guard in the East. When looking at the NBA as a whole, there's one guy in the West that some people consider a point guard that I mentioned a little bit earlier, and some people consider an off guard who handles the ball more, and that's Luka. Personally, I would consider him a point guard, and he's easily leading the race to be the best young point guard in the NBA. But guys like LaMelo, Tyrese, and Garland in the East are right on Luka's tail. Can't forget Trae Young either, who is a very, very good offensive player. In the end though, LaMelo has as good of a shot as any of them to be the next great point guard in the NBA. I think the Hornets made the right additions in the summer too, especially with that Brandon Miller acquisition, who I think fits perfectly with LaMelo. And hopefully getting back Miles Bridges, like I said, this team is probably going to look a lot better this coming year. Not a team that I would assume is going to be competitive yet. I don't think they're there at all, but I do think this season will actually show a little bit when it comes to potential and be pretty exciting all things considered. I'm looking out for LaMelo and the Hornets to see what they can do in the 23-24 year. But with that, I will conclude this video. Thank you guys for the support, always means a lot. I will try to continue to put out videos like this one. If you guys continue to enjoy them, I've got a few different video ideas that I've been looking forward to putting out, and I hope you guys like and subscribe to keep up with all the new content that I've been putting out for this channel. You can see here that I do player profiles, I occasionally do tier lists and rankings, and I might try to branch out to a couple of other topics in the future, but as of right now, I have my focus on these player profiles. But with all that, thanks again for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hey, thanks again for watching this video. If you like what you saw, go ahead and click on one of these videos here to see more.